Good evening, everyone. Please be seated. Now, I request Chairman BOG, Sri Hari S. Bhartia, to declare the convocation open. Thank you, sir. Now, invocation by Harshita.
महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपतिम् महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं मारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं पमगमपमरि सपमगम पदनि सरि गम मरि सरि सनि पमगमनि पमरि गमरि स सानि पमरि सरि गम महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपतिम्
Now I request Professor M. Chandrasekhar, Director IIM Visakhapatnam, to present the report.
Chief guest for today's function, respected Dr. Naresh Trehan ji, respected Chairman, Board of Governors, Sri Hari Bhartiya ji, esteemed members of the board, members of the board committees, all our patrons, benefactors, and stakeholders present in this august gathering, welcome to this celebration. I present to you a brief account of the many milestones we crossed in our exciting journey in the past 1 year. First and foremost, about the graduating students of our flagship MBA program. With their amazing performance, they broke all our past placement records. Their median salary of about 15.5 lakh rupees per annum is not only the highest among all new generation IIMs, but also higher than the packages of some of the older IIMs. Well done, dear students. We are truly proud of you. Graduating today are also the students of our bespoke MBA program for experienced professionals and entrepreneurs in the region. We are positive with the advanced management knowledge and skill sets acquired, they'll contribute even higher to the growth and success of the local industry. Also receiving their degrees today are the students of the first batch of our unique MBA program in digital governance and management. This is a batch of senior officers, including those from the IAS and other central services. With the specialized learning from the program, they are all set to make a profound and positive impact on the digitalization projects from concept to commissioning. We are grateful to the National E-Governance Division, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, for funding this program and providing us valuable guidance. Our bouquet of offerings includes the Mahatma Gandhi National Fellowship Program sponsored by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. In this initiative, we train the youth in public policy and management to play a facilitating role in skill development in the districts of 3 states, our own state, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, and Arunachal Pradesh. With EdTech as the enabler, we are also conducting popular certificate programs on contemporary themes for the management education aspirants pan-India. Our 36-strong faculty team is the highest among contemporary IIMs, with a judicious blend of impressive credentials in academics, research, and industry. They ensure that our commitment remains steadfast to building human capital endowed not only with competence and confidence, but also with character, compassion, and good citizenship. IIM, we field our foundation for incubation, entrepreneurial learning and development, continues to conduct with success the Women's Startup Program under the aegis of IIM Bangalore. The foundation catalyzes bankable ideas moving from the mind to the market. As recognition for its good work, it has been receiving funding as a TIDE Center, that is Technology Incubation and Development of Entrepreneurship Center, from the Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, as well as support from the National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development Board of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, helping us accelerate technology-based and women-led ventures. We are also grateful to MTAR Technologies, the Hyderabad-based precision engineering company of national repute, for its support to our social entrepreneurship initiatives. On our part, we are setting aside 1% of our yearly budget as an innovation fund to encourage students to choose entrepreneurship as a rewarding career. We are therefore proud of our role, however modest, as enablers and facilitators of the startup ecosystem. Our thanks are therefore in order to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor PVGD Prasad Reddy Garu of Andhra University, for providing us good infrastructural facilities, helping us expand our activities in scale and scope. As the only IIM to have been sanctioned the prestigious Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Chair by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, we are soon onboarding faculty and doctoral scholars, strengthening our teaching and research commitment to social equity, inclusiveness, and empowerment of the marginalized. In the executive education space, we are enlarging our footprint, emerging as the capacity building destination for blue chip and high pedigree organizations like Indian Oil, Hindustan Petroleum, Hindustan Shipyard, Larsen & Toubro, etc. Another significant development has been our signing a knowledge partnership agreement with the Capacity Building Commission of the Government of India for providing training and research services. The Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Government of India, recognized us as a scientific and industrial research organization, CSIRO. We are only the 4th IIM to get this recognition. This is a reinforcement of our commitment to teaching and research in technology and innovation management. The IIM Act encourages us to collaborate with institutions abroad. Accordingly, we are in active talks with the reputed business schools in the US, Canada, Denmark, and Malaysia for joint programs and projects. The Institute hosted the Academy of International Business South Asia Chapter Conference in this year, January, in collaboration with North-South University, Bangladesh, on the role of international business and sustainable development in South Asian economies. The conference was a useful platform for researchers to share their work on sustainability, reflect on its resonance with the policy and practices of the day, and its influence on the strategies and approaches of businesses. On the governance front, our MOU with the Ministry of Education is a balanced scorecard of many performance indicators. For the year 21-22, our score is 91 out of 100 with rating as excellent. This is a 10-point jump over our previous year's rating of very good. Future holds immense promise for us. In our very first entry this year into the National Institutional Ranking Framework, we are at 33rd place All India in the management category. With our firm focus on faculty, funds, facilities, and the future of our students, we look forward to ranking among the top 20 business schools very soon. In pursuit of our vision for educating and nurturing entrepreneurial leaders for business, government, and society, our mission is powered by academic freedom, contextual relevance and excellence, creative teaching for innovative outcomes, commitment to ethical and sustainable management practices, and professionalization of management education with equity and inclusivity as the underpinning values. Before I conclude, it is in the fitness of things to place on record our enduring gratitude to the distinguished scientist and philanthropist, Dr. B.R.L. Rao, who is in this audience in the first row here. Dr. Rao created an endowment of rupees 2.22 crores in memory of his late daughter, Ms. Vani Rao, a bright alumna of IIM Ahmedabad who had a brilliant work career. This contribution is being utilized by us for building a modern incubation center in our permanent campus and for awarding a gold medal every year to the girl students standing first in MBA, thus immortalizing Ms. Rao. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for your generosity. Let me conclude by saying how grateful I and my team are to the central and state leadership, our board and the board committees, the Vice Chancellor of Andhra University, for their immense contribution to our growth and good functioning, and to all our stakeholders for their continued patronage and partnership in our progress and success. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now, students for Master of Business Administration, PGP, please rise. Abhishek Adarsh. So this is award of MBA degrees. Abhishek Adarsh. Ajay Jain. Akash Medhavi. Apurva U. Arkadeep Mondal. Arnav Garg. Atishay Jain. Atishay Jain. B. Ayushi Anil. B. Chetan Baswaraj. B. Hitakshi Vijay Bhai. Chaitanya Sharma. Chinmay Kumar Sahu. Chinmayi Chauhan. C.H. Naveen. CH Praneeth Prabhu, DG Suveta, Divya Gupta, Gaurav Kumar, Giradkar Sapna Devendra, Jaykant V, Joga Venkata Sandeep, Kanishk Kumar Kane, Kavali Ravali, Kishore Kumar V, K. Jil Jyotindra Kumar, Mehir Purushottam Fatke, M. Pavan Krishna, M. Sai Santosh Naik, Najma Naureen V, Nikhil Khare, Oliver Shubham Madhukar Rao, P. Bhavani, Peddapalli Varun, P. Sai Manoj Bharat, P. Premchandra Reddy, Premchandra Reddy, Rajat Krishna Ji, Sarthak Mittal, Satya Chanduran M, Savant Urja Rajesh, yes, Harshita, Sheikh Abdul Akbar, Shiv Khare, Shalini Sinha, Sikha Khanna, Shrey Nagle, Siddhartha Singh, सिमरन प्रभानी, स्मृति तंडलीकर, सौरव जैन, विष्णु सिरोही, अभिनव पांडे, अक्षय सिंह भरतिया, अमन सोंकर, अंबटी मनीषा, अरुंधति इंगती, आशीष रवि के, आशुतोष ओझा, अभिलाष घोष, भवेश सिंह, भावना प्रीतम, रोहन शशिकांत भोले, चिरांशी मीना, चिट्टी साई किशोर कुमार, चैत्र महेंद्रन ती, दिविशा अग्रवाल, दिव्या करण, गट्टू रवि तेज, जी संतोष, जोविन परोल, इंदुमती वी, जानी पार्थ रजनीश कुमार, जे हरकरे, के कैजिया वांगलिन, कृष्णा गोपकुमार, महेंद्र के, मनुकोंडा गोपी, मैकला निखिल, एम स्टीव कुमार दिलीप भाई, निकित विमल शर्मा, निवेदिता वैतलिंगम, Pallavi Bansal, Patel Shob Khan, Prashant Kumar Devangan, M. Pavan Krishna, Rajat Bhatia, Richa Singh, Roopshika Banerjee, Samaya CV, Sanket Avasarkar, Saurabh Upadhyay, Sakshi Sharma, yes, Arpit Sahib Rao, Shubhu Chandra, Sri Lakshmi, yes, Tate Nikhil Hindurao, Tuhin Karsinga, Umesh Das, Veda Prasad Nayak, Vinayak Seth, Vinila Jaksani, Yash Mehra, Chairman BOG, upon the recommendation of the Academic Council, I have the honor to present Mr. Abhishek Adarsh and 131 others who have successfully completed the prescribed course of studies and fulfilled all other requirements. I request the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, to confer Master of Business Administration degree to these students, of whom 100 are present and 32 will be receiving in absentia, sir.
By the authority vested in me by the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, I award you Masters of Business Administration degree, and I charge that by thought, word, and deed, you prove yourselves worthy of the award.
Now, I invite Professor Kumar Pani, Chairperson PGPX, to initiate the award of MBA degrees for executive program.
Students of Masters of Business Administration PGPX, please rise. The students will individually receive their degree from the Chief Guest and Chairman of Board of Governors. Arati Rajput. Arun Anand Patil. Achyutanand Sri Ramacharan. Gude Bala Gangadhar. Chandrasekhar Sethi. Dibya Kupille. Jaresma Dondapatti. Jay Prakash Misal. N. Kiran Kumar. Jitendra Mohan Konei. Mradul Kumar Gautam. Naveen Koribhi. Palas Sharma. Nelapudi Raviraj. Kwanthala Raviraja. Sarvasiddhi Murali Manohar. Shobhanita Das. Sriranga Prabhakar Verma Nadimapalli. Mudiala Srikant Reddy. Vikas Kaligotla. Janardhan Surisetti. Sriram Sai Gangadhar Majuri. Chairman BOG, upon the recommendation of the Academic Council, I have the honor to present Ms. Arati Rajput and 23 others who have successfully completed the prescribed course of studies and fulfilled all other requirements. I request the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, to confer Master of Business Administration degree to these candidates, of whom 22 are present and 2 will be receiving in absentia.
by the authority vested in me by the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, I award you Masters of Business Administration degree, and I charge that by thought, word and deed, you prove yourselves worthy of the award.
Now I request Professor Neena Pandey, Chairperson, PGP DGM Program, to initiate award of MBA degrees.
Students for Master of Business Administration, PGP DGM, please rise. Ajay More, Appala Naidu Guri, Achyuta Ram Mohan Saripalli, Dharmendra Kumar Singh, Harika Anugu, Pranav Upadhyay, Prashant Prasanna, Ramu Porika, Regita R, Ritesh Kumar Meena, Sai Kumar Vedula, Sanjay Kumar Bhanwara, Sanob S, Saraswati Annamala, Shena Agarwal, Shiv Gupta, Soumyadipta Datta, Sunil Kumar Ramanathulla, Surendra Mathur, Kiran Kumar Gurram, Chairman BOG, upon the recommendation of the Academic Council, I have the honor to present Mr. Ajay More and 25 others who have successfully completed the prescribed course of studies and fulfilled all other requirements. I request the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, to confer Master of Business Administration degree to these candidates, of whom 20 are present and 6 will be receiving in absentia.
By the authority vested in me by the Indian Institute of Management, Visakhapatnam, I award you Masters of Business Administration degree, and I charge that by thought, word, and deed, you prove yourselves worthy of the award.
Now I request our chief guest today to present the gold medals to MBA graduates, the PGP program. The IIMV gold medal for securing the first rank has been awarded to Pallavi Bansal. Certificate. The IMV gold medal for securing second rank has been awarded to Vishnu Sirohi.
Look this side, Sir. All the best, sir.
Vani Rao Memorial Gold Medal for securing first rank among girls goes to Pallavi Bansal.
Dr. B.R. Rao sir instituted that. He is 93 years old. He's the one who instituted it? Yeah, he's a PhD from Indian Institute of Science. Congratulations again. Ghaziabad. Maybe you should take a snap with Dr. Rao, who is sitting in the first row.
The IIMV Gold Medal for the best all-round performance has been awarded to Joga Venkat Sandeep. Now I request Professor Saroj Kumar Pani, Chairperson PGPX, to initiate the award of gold medals.
Dr. Rao is a fellow of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers.
I request the Chief Guest to present the gold medals to MBA graduates of PGPEX.
Gold medal. His daughter was a student of IIM Ahmedabad.
The IMB gold medal for securing the first rank has been awarded to Dibya Kupili.
He hails from this place. He is from this place. No, he was a scientist in the US. So Divya is again here from GE Healthcare.
The IMB gold medal for securing the second rank has been awarded to Palas Sarma.
Look that side, Palash. Okay, okay. Yeah, all the best. He is with Reddington.
Now I request Professor Neena Pandey,
Okay, little that side.
Chairperson PGP DGM, to announce the gold medals, please.
I request the chief guest to present the gold medals to the MBA students PGP DGM program. The IIM Visakhapatnam gold medal for securing the first rank in the DGM program has been awarded to Shena Agarwal. The IMV gold medal for securing the second rank has been awarded to Pranav Upadhyay.
In the back. Overall. Top CGPA, second CGPA. Look that side, Pranav. Look that side.
Thank you, sir.
Now I request Chairperson BOG to address the gathering.
Dr. Trehan, my fellow board members, the distinguished faculty of IIM Vizag, the director, the distinguished guests and parents, and of course, my dear students. Firstly, a warm welcome to the 6th Convocation of IIM Vizag. I had the privilege to be part of this institution from a very early stage, and this has been a very interesting journey for me personally over almost 6 years now. Yes. Almost 6 years. Firstly, congratulations to all of you who have got their degrees awarded today. Last 2 years, I'm sure. I think only in March the COVID impact started to go down. Of course, Dr. Trehan has been fighting it from the front, but all of you probably missed a lot, isn't it? In terms of being together, part of the campus life. So this must be very tough. And now we are just getting ready with our new campus. Almost ready, isn't it? We are moving in a very short time. I wish we were there today, but I think it should get ready fully before we start using it. But I'm sure all of you will come back because you are the early flag bearers of IIM Vizag, and you will build the reputation. So do keep coming back. So Professor, you must invite them when the new campus gets ready to see. I think we have a glorious, very large campus coming up. Amazing work done by the team here. Before I move forward, I must thank Dr. Trehan, my friend, much senior to me, also a mentor. I have known him for last almost 30 years now, almost 30 years, I think. Maybe more, maybe a few years, plus or minus. He's a unique personality. I'm sure some of you have seen him on television in the last 2 years. He was there every day almost, and giving, of course, educating on what was evolving. Nobody knew where COVID is going. So he was in the forefront. So he's a very special man who, in the late 60s, went to US when cardiac bypass was just starting to happen. I think he was telling me on the plane, he worked with Dr. Spencer when the first experiments to do the heart bypass was starting to develop. So one of the few guys from India who learned the technique and then of course came back. So I called him. He's of course a well-known doctor, a cardiac surgeon. I'm told he has done almost 100,000 surgeries, and he says I've stopped counting now because it's unfair after that. So while he's a doctor, I call him also an entrepreneur because he always takes risks with his life. He very early, on the request of many people at that time, including the Prime Minister, I believe, who said you must come back to India and set up a heart institute. He took that risk. He said, I'm going to leave my very good job in New York and come back to India to work for, because cardiac surgery was just starting to evolve. And so he set up India's first kind of specialized institute on heart. And thereafter, there was no looking back. He then founded Medanta, which is probably one of the, if you look at a single location hospital, it's probably one of the largest in India. Then, of course, they have expanded in Lucknow, Patna, Chandigarh, now opening in Noida. So, knowing him, and so I must share some few things which probably would be helpful for you to in your life also. You know, I was while coming to this hotel for this convocation, I was in the car with him, and he must have got 10 phone calls because his phone never stops ringing. Being a head of a hospital, there's some crisis going on somewhere, and some patient is always calling him. You will never see him impatient when he's dealing with an individual. He patiently was answering each and every call, and the person on the other side must have felt hugely honored that he has got full time, full hearing. Somebody talked about patients, somebody talked about probably a job a doctor needs, and this is not a story of this car drive. I have seen it in the last 30 years, that his door is always open. He's always happy to meet anyone. Anyone. It's not about meeting important people, because half the time you see some chief ministers sitting in his cabin, but he is happy to meet every individual, and with the same attention, he will look in the eye and make you feel important. And while he is building this huge empire of healthcare. So I think this human quality is very rare, and somebody who has that patience and always in deep. I remember calling him when the Delta virus was spreading like mad, and it was a huge crisis situation. You know, we were at Jubilant trying to save each and every employee who got hospitalized for some reason or the other. And I would call him in the middle of a crisis where I'm sure he had to deal with another 1,000 people, and he would pick up the phone and talk to you and give you assurance and will help you in whatever way. And it's not only to me, but to anybody who calls. So Dr. Trehan, thank you for making time and sharing your experience and your thoughts to our young students and the audience here. As chairman of the board, I must acknowledge, because this institute would not have grown or come to this stage without the support that I have constantly received, both from the central government, who is the sponsor of this institute, as well as the state where we are located. Not only they have given us land, but full support. Director at his level deals with them on a daily basis, but without that, we would not have been here where we are today. So thank you in the audience, whoever is there from the central government and the state government. I have the most supporting board in terms of getting things done. I come from the private sector, so a bit impatient, uh, we keep the board meetings short as possible. So decisions have to get done, and I always get support from my board, and without which we would not have moved things as fast as, as what we have done. So it's almost 6 years and 4 years since the IIM Act has happened. I don't want to go into the accomplishments of the institute, which our director in his opening remarks gave the examples of the work done. And ultimately, the students who come out of the institute are best ambassadors in terms of what is being done here. I know you secured the 9th place in the 20 IIMs in the teaching, learning, and resources and perception. These are two important parameters. So congratulations to you and the faculty here. I'm also happy to share that Professor Chandrasekhar, who was the first director, the special selection committee, and of course the board, we were so proud of the work done, and they've asked him to stay for another 5 years, so you can't go away. Anyway, so thank you, Professor, for all your good work. So I'm sure in the coming years we will see our ranks going up. So put a bit of pressure. I think we need to cross some of the older IIMs. And you know, when I spoke to Professor Chandrasekhar, he said, you must share some thoughts on ESG, which is the top of the agenda for almost all the corporates, the governments. Our Prime Minister is the biggest supporter in terms of what we all have to do in ESG. So I must tell you a story that about, it relates to what we are talking about. There's a friend of mine who believes in, he's a great supporter, and he has been working with wildlife, especially tigers. So he invited me to a conference and said, as industry person, you must come to a wildlife conference to talk about tigers. And you know, I was constantly thinking that why is this tiger so important, in that we need to preserve, we need to make sure they have their habitat. And so I said I must go to this conference and learn more about what these wildlife experts do. And so my learning was that tiger is just a symbol for preservation of the environment. Because if you preserve the tiger, or you save the tiger, you save the ecosystem. Because around which you save the forest, you save the green, you save the water in that forest from pollution. So while the life of few tigers may not be important, but I think if you look at it from human life comparison point of view, but I think saving the tiger is very important because it saves an ecosystem which is, if we don't, then these forests will be run over. And we'll have we'll have no green large forests left, So I thought it was a great symbol to, it's not about saving tiger, it's about saving the planet for our grandchildren for the future. I think when we talk about ESG, we as businessmen, we get into, I'm sure all of you have gone through courses where people talk about sustainability reports, numbers, carbon footprint. People are talking about net zero in 2030, or, people give numbers all the time. And, but I think ESG is about first believing that whatever our actions are in terms of what we can contribute individually, culturally, I think is critical. Because we have to save this planet. We will survive, we will live for another 20 years. I am 65. So, but we have to worry about what my grandchildren, what kind of planet are they going to have? What kind of environment will they live in? I think if we have to ingrain ourselves and say that how culturally each one of us contribute to the future of this planet, and not really go into. So I think it's critical that culturally each one of us see that our own behavior, is it sustainable or not? Are we adding to the burden of the planet individually? And I think that starts from your own home, and then community close by, and then where work of place, everywhere. So that's why when the part of ESG, the middle part is S, which is the corporate social responsibility part. And we in our company always talk about it. What is this? We should not talk, we said first, can we protect our own employees? See that they have a good environment to work. They have safe environment to work. And then do our communities where we work, are we adding value to that community or not? I think as they say, charity begins at home. So I think first thing is our own behavior on safety, on providing good environment to our own employees, and then to the communities close by, and then we try and change the world. So it has to be a stepwise process. First change yourself, then change people who are close to you, and then the communities which are close to you, and then we can go and change the world. So ESG, as all of you will see, will continue to be an important part. Governance, which is the G part, where we must make sure that we have diversity, equity in the place of work. It's very critical. Like we have great diversity here in our institute, I see, whether it is gender diversity or people from all the states. I think 19 states are represented. 22 states, so are represented in our institute. So finally, to the young graduates, before I invite Dr. Trehan, my bit of advice, that you missed these 2 years of kind of camaraderie, networking among each other. I hope you find you are connected and you find more opportunities to further connect with each other. I hope you found friends among the people in the last 2 years, or found love, whatever that is. And you go and just remember, you represent IIM Vizag. So whatever you do, you are only adding to the reputation of what this institute is. So really, congratulations again for, uh, for, for passing out. And from the board and from everyone, we really wish you all the best. And before I conclude, Naresh, thank you for finding time in your busy schedule. He operates every day. So if I take him away for a day, some of his patients lose his touch. So thank you again for coming and sharing your thoughts with the audience here.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our chief guest, Padma Bhushan, Dr. Naresh Trehan, to deliver the convocation address. Sir.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman of BOG, Visakhapatnam, IIM, the director, the board members, faculty. Actually, there's a very short form of saying it. It's somebody I heard said, the respect to the podium. So then everybody is covered. So it saves time. So thank you for all the kind remarks, Hari. I know they're out of proportion, but I wish my wife was here in the audience to hear all this. So, but you have an opportunity to repeat it when we So it's good to see so many smiley faces bubbling with knowledge and ready to launch yourself in the world. Today actually happens to be, we believe, that you will have the maximum of knowledge concentrated in one head at one time today. From now on, what will happen is experience will then start influencing your knowledge. And for the next 5 years, it should be that the growth of the combination of knowledge and experience will take you to a new height. So the challenge comes at that time, that is 5 years from now. Either you will continue to climb the next mountain every day, like it's not my original, but I wanted to title this because I don't want to be preachy, by the way, is life is just luck by chance. And it's not my quote. It's the title of some of you may have seen it. Rajiv Bajaj has given this little narration of the film on Jamnalal Bajaj, who is the patriarch of the Bajaj family. And you know Bajaj Auto Finance Service. It's an empire. And it goes back to, he was born in Shikhar. Shikhar is a small town in Rajasthan, where he was the son of many children in the like his siblings. In a very small hut, they used to live almost like piled on top of each other, and the parents were not well-to-do. And he was playing in the middle of the heat, and Rajasthan can be hot. As a 4-year-old boy, Jamnalal was playing football with some other kids. And he was like running around much more energetically than the rest of the kids, and he was all red and sweaty and out of breath. So as a carriage of the local sahukar, means the local rich businessman, was going by, he spotted this boy and liked the spirit of this boy. And he got down from his carriage, took this boy, asked him, where is your home? He went to the mother, and the rest of the history is that because he didn't have any children, he adopted Jamnalal. And history is now, several decades later, has been transformed from that little poor boy. If he was not playing so vigorously, if he was not so red, not so sweaty, he would not have been noticed, and the Bajaj empire may not have existed. So these are some things which I call triggers and sentinel events that will happen in your life as you start your journey today. So if I go back to myself, I think that's the best thing I can do rather than quote other people. I belong to a family, my parents are both doctors. They were in Pakistan when overnight they were chased out, arrived in Delhi. I was 1 year old. And that's one of the reasons Mr. Bhatia was showing some respect, because I'm 76, going to be now. So they were thrown out penniless, and I don't have memories of the first 2-3 years, but 4 years onward, I do have very clear memories. My distinct memory, because you can't forget these things, is riding on a little seat in front of the cycle, on the bar of the cycle, where my father would be cycling and my mother was being on the carrier. Well, because they were both doctors, they rehabilitated themselves, but over the next 5-6 years, they were okay. And then education started. I was an avid sportsman and loved aero modeling. That means in those days, there were no ready-made air models. So I used to take balsa blocks, and balsa is a wood, soft wood. We used to make parts of the aircraft from that and then make them fly. So I was always in I would say the end of the first 10% of the class, or maybe the top of the second 10% of the class. So I was vacillating. So I was never a real academic guy. Got into medical college for the reason that I wanted to be a fighter pilot. But my father said, no, you should become a doctor. And in those days, and I don't know what happens now, whatever your parents said, you wanted to do the opposite. But then, because of the fact that I was going to NDA for my entrance into the National Defense Academy, my grandfather had a breakdown that you're the only son, the whole thing of the Indian family. So then I became a doctor, so let's go further. So I got admitted to King George's Medical College, which is in Lucknow, UP. I've always been, my whole living memory is in Delhi, which was like a Disney World for us, because it was just playing around with friends and going to a nice school and stuff like that. So I'm going to the hostel, and Lucknow didn't have that much transport at the time. It was rickshaws. I don't know if you have rickshaws here. So and there was a wonderful device. I don't know if you guys remember. There used to be a baggage known as hold all. Hold all was literal. I don't know if you've ever seen this now. But hold all had everything in it. Your clothes, your bedding, your shoes, your toilet kits, everything was in it. So you roll it up. It was a very handy device. It's gone out, I think. It's not available anymore, I think. Anyway, so I'm with my hold all, going on the rickshaw, and as we are crossing the bridge of the Gomti River to the hostel, there is ragging going on. So the guide tells me, come here. So I walked up to him. So he asked me in Hindi, and I hope some of you or most of you understand. He says, "Tumhari jaat kya hai?" What community, or what would you say, Jat, the English of Jat would be community? Or, huh? Caste, yeah, right. So I said Punjabi. The only time I've been slapped was he gave me one whack like you will not believe. He says, Punjabi is a caste? What's your caste? Now I'm puzzling because I only know Punjabi or, maybe. So so this whole screaming is going on. And he's taking out his belt. I said, now I've had it. So luckily, there's another rickshaw coming with 3 senior students in it. And they said, what's this ruckus going on? So this person who was ragging me says, SOB, whatever, in all choices Hindi galis, that he is fooling us by saying his caste is Punjabi. So the guy on the rickshaw says, Beta, you are Punjabi? Come, sit with us. Because all 3 happen to be Punjabis. In all of UP, in all of the medical college, these 3 happen to be seniors and also Punjabi. So I got rescued. So it's just like it's an intervention, okay? It's neither a trigger nor a sentinel event. It was an incident. So then we went on. I'm now final year medical student. And as part of our clinical, and there's one doctor here so she can understand, that there is a clinical rotation where you go and see the patients and stuff like that. So as part of our rotation, we had a 4-hour duty. And the duty was that a patient who has a blockage in the mitral valve, which is one of the valves inside the heart, which does not allow blood to flow forward, but blocks it. And because of the blockage, it congests the whole body, and your liver goes, and your belly gets full of water, so what we call ascites. And to be able to, because all the protein of the body is going into this fluid, so we had to put a catheter in the belly, the other end into the vein so that we could recirculate it in the body so that the protein would not go waste. And there was a little pump through which this little tube used to go, and our job was for 4 hours to rotate this. Ostensibly, we were saving the life, but actually we were not doing anything because the mitral valve was still blocked. So this fluid, we'd put it back, it'd go back into the stomach, and day after day, and we knew the patient was going to die, but we were all sitting there doing 4 hours. So that was a sentinel event. Sentinel because I thought that what kind of doctors are we? What kind of medicine are we practicing where we know what it is, but we don't know what to do about it, or we can't fix it. So it's basically failure of medicine. And reading journals, it was quite clear that the concept of how to fix the mitral valve had already started in the US. So that's where I said, that's where I have to go. So finally I arrive. My first job is in Philadelphia, terrible town at that time, beautiful town now. And this is Thomas Jefferson University where the heart-lung machine was invented. So by coincidence, I didn't even know that. When I arrived there, I find out. And the whole drama of heart surgery was on over there. This was just the early stages. And 50% of the patients would live and 50% would die, would not make it off the table. So when the 50% who survived, the whole hospital, which was a 1,000-bed hospital, would stand up and have a standing ovation that the patient survived. So that was the drama of heart surgery at that time. So I said, now whatever doubt I had, I want to be a heart surgeon. Because the patient would have died otherwise. 100% would have died, but at least you can save 50%. Can I borrow that bottle of water I was drinking? Sorry. So I went to my chief, the chief of surgery, and I asked him, I said, who's the best teacher of heart surgery in the US? Because surgery was not there anywhere else except it started in the US. So he immediately came out and said, Dr. Frank Spencer at New York University. But why do you ask? I said, because I want to become a heart surgeon and I might as well be trained by the best guy. So he says, there's no point. He's got a 5-year waiting list and he doesn't speak to foreigners. That was a trigger. I came home and I wrote a letter to him describing how I had arrived from India for this very reason, that I want to learn and go back. But it's such a pity that he doesn't speak to foreigners. So my language was such that I actually called him a bigot. So he immediately, and if I hadn't, I suppose it would have gone into the dustbin. So to clarify, he wrote back to me immediately, said, no, that's not true. Again, describing himself that I'm not a bigot. So he says, you come on Thursday, a week from then, there is one job open, you would appear for an interview. So that was the trigger that the man said in the end of his sentence, he doesn't speak to foreigners. Anyway, so then I went for that interview. I dressed up. I used to wear Jodhpuri jackets. I never wore a tie in my life, actually, maybe once or twice or something. And my hair was up to here. Those were hippie days. I had a bucket-handle mustache. And the shoes were also kind of had a heel to it. So I arrived at So they kind of looked at me and they said, okay, sit down. The director of the program asked me a question. He says, what are you interested in surgery? Any particular subject? So I said, yeah, diverticulitis, it's a disease of the colon. And he says, why? I said, in all my years in India, I never saw a case of diverticulitis. Ever since I've come to the US, 50% of the people who get admitted to the hospital on the general medical side have diverticulitis, so it fascinated me. So he said, what do you know about it? I had read the whole monograph. And I regurgitated it verbatim. And he said, by the way, your knowledge of diverticulitis is more than mine, and that's my specialty. So he said, I want you to meet Dr. Spencer. Okay? So he takes me, puts me in front of now this is a sentinel event in my life, because if he hadn't asked me that question, what are you interested in, I wouldn't have got that opening. So he puts me in front of the Dr. Spencer's secretary. It's 2 o'clock. I haven't had breakfast. I haven't had lunch because I drove from Philadelphia to it. And nobody asked me, will you have some water or whatever? Nothing. So I'm sitting there in front of, and she was an elderly lady. Her name was Honey. And in those days, you know those, the wraps, the bubble wraps? In those days, the bubble wraps were like thick plastic. Now they're kind of light. So she was sitting there, looking at me, I'm looking at her. The Dr. Stahl had said, please take him to Dr. Spencer at 4 o'clock when he holds the M&M conference. And she's popping this as a stress buster. And her stress busting was giving me huge headache, because she'd go, but I kept my cool. And then finally she picked up some courage and said, are you a Maharaja? Because I was, she saw the Jodhpuri and all that. I said, are you a Maharaja? I said, no, I'm not a Maharaja, but I'm the doorman. That's how they dress. So she laughed and we kind of started chatting, and I'm telling her about peacocks and all this other stuff. And then Honey and I became friends in those next 1.5 hours. And she took me to Spencer. The rest is history. But What happened was, there were 300 people who had interviewed for that one job. And when I went back to Philadelphia, I would call Honey every morning. I'd excuse myself from the operating room, go out there, no cell phones those days, I put a coin in and call Honey to say, Honey, do you have any news? Not yet, not yet. Anyway, one day she told me, you made it to the 150. Then a couple of days later, you made it to 75. Then finally one day she says, he signed your contract last night, you've been selected, I'm mailing it to you. But you have only 5 days to return it back to us signed. So I said, God damn it, and we were not living in any great place, it was the middle of mafia town in Philadelphia where we could afford to live. So I said, if it goes out in the mail somewhere, or it's like Indian mailmen who will drop it somewhere else, I said, Honey, don't touch it, I'm coming. So I went and signed it. Okay, graduated, finished my training, then I became a heart surgeon. They asked me to stay on as faculty, and so that was nice. But then a lot of Indians started coming to me in New York for bypass surgery because there was no bypass surgery. We are trying to get, just stop me because I'll be another 5 minutes or so. So I go there, I mean, I'm operating, we've got a good practice, everything is fine, but somebody came and they reminded me that, look, for everyone who can come here, there are thousands of Indians who cannot afford to, and they're suffering, they'll die. So why are you here? Good question, because I always wanted to go back in the back of my mind, but I understood one thing, that there were many surgeons, heart surgeons, who had returned back to India, gone back home, got frustrated and left back for wherever they came from. And I knew, or at least I told myself, I'm sure they're smarter than me. Then why did they fail? So having studied this, I realized that if in India, at that time, now we are talking about 1980, that if your knowledge is more than your boss, he will not let you survive. That was a given. That's how these people had to go back, because they would not let their own position be kind of challenged. Nobody was challenging them, but they felt the challenge. So I said, that means we have to be fully in control. I will not come back to India unless I'm fully in control. So there was a Mr. Nanda, who was the chairman of Escorts, the company making tractors. He happened to come to New York, and then there was another Sentinel event there, which will take too long. And finally, we decided we'll make Escorts Heart Institute in Delhi. But we couldn't find land. So we are all very, very sad about the fact that we can't find land. Wherever we tried, there's no land. And I wanted it in Delhi so that people with a heart attack would get there. So one day, there was a foreign secretary who my father knew, and he knew me as a child, or, you know. He called me up. He said, Naresh, bags pack karo. Why? Where are we going? Why? He said, we are going to Delhi. I said, what for? He said, but don't ask me too many questions. There is a very close associate of Mrs. Gandhi. He needs a bypass surgery. She's asked you to come. You better go. Okay, so both of us got on the plane, and we came to Delhi. Because I was a state guest, quasi-state guest, there was police, sirens blowing, and we went off to Pant Hospital, where the patient was. And I'm just what I was, 32, 34 or something like that at that time, and the big surgeon has come from America, and we are going like crazy. Arrive at the hospital, and the patient is lying on the ground. They put Ganga Jal in him, Tulsi in him, and his wife is reading the Hanuman Chalisa. That means the patient's dead. So you can imagine what happened to me. Flying all the way, big profile, the guy's gone. So I had no choice. I went down and felt his pulse. He still had a pulse, although they'd given up on him. So I asked for a pacemaker. They gave me the pacemaker. I yanked it up to 90. His heart rate went up to 90, and he started waking up. To make a long story short, he woke up. We did an echo, found that his heart function was 20%. I told them there's no way this guy can be operated on here. I mean, there's a 10% chance he'll survive even if we took him to the US. So we arranged. He was a son-in-law of a very big family, so they arranged for a plane. We went there. I operated on him. The guy survived. Thank God for that. So it goes back to Mr. Bhartiya saying, I take risks. I did, but there was no choice. I said, even if 10%, I mean, they all understood that if he didn't make it, he didn't make it. So he comes back. He was the director of the Museum of Modern Art. And he was teaching one of the, Mrs. Gandhi was the prime minister at that time, right? So he goes with his flowers from the garden of roses, and he goes there. And she says to him, Sihare, I thought you were dead. They told me you died. So then he narrated the story. And she said, when Dr. Trehan comes next, please bring him to me. And look at him. He writes me an inland letter. You know that these are things that you probably have never seen. There used to be an overseas. He writes to me there, which arrives 2 weeks later. I said, what's wrong with you? He doesn't know that I'd been hunting for land or something. So arrived, Mrs. Gandhi asked me after half an hour of grilling me completely, she asked me, she said, okay, we'll give you some money, you get started. I said, well, I got money. Said, what do you need? I need land. One telephone call, and the land, everything fell in place. So there are many events that happened, but 6 years later, I could move back. So then this is divine intervention. It's luck. I'm not a religious person, but I am spiritual. So if that hadn't happened, Escorts Heart Institute would not have happened. If I had not started, I came back with that. We made it into a success 20 years later, and another sentinel event happened. I had made it with Mr. Hari Nanda, who was the chairman, and this was a trust. Then Mr. Nanda passes away, and his successor, the family, in the middle of the night, because he had no attachment to it, goes and sells it to another group of people without telling me, when I had founded it and everything, but I didn't have ownership of it. So here we were, meeting these strangers or people who I knew, and from day one we couldn't get along. So they finally threw me out one day, locked the doors and threw me out. Okay. But fortunately I'd started making Medanta the Medicity because I felt that after making such a successful heart institute, it does not make sense to have a single specialty, because if you need more specialists to be part, then you won't have the best standard of people available to you right away. So I said, let's build a Cleveland clinic or a Mayo clinic of the East. That's how this had started. But it was still 2 years away. So we were out on the street. Mr. Bhartiya is fully aware of the whole situation. And then in the interim, I was at Apollo Hospital. Dr. Reddy was very kind to me. He was a good friend. And they invited us, so Medanta happened. So what happened here? Goodwill. The moment the news hit the TV, Dr. Reddy called me up. He said, you know there is a home for you in Apollo. Come right now. So we moved. So this is a combination of stars. Then Medanta, you know, it's a story. We made one hospital, now we have 6 hospitals, and hopefully it'll grow. But the whole core of it is that we always stood for the medicine being the dharma, patient being the God, and all the functionaries who function are actually to be taken care of so that they can take care of the patient. So this whole business of management and all this other stuff comes from that unless you integrate it up and down, and so 2 things may happen along the way, which are, and I've told you all the positive things that can happen, but the 2 most destructive things that can happen is, one is arrogance, and there's no reason for it, by the way. There are no geniuses. It is just a sequence of events that gets you there, where you look like a genius, but actually you're not. There's no such thing. And the second is greed. If you look at, so many of the icons have fallen because of that. So that's why, and God forbid if you get both, then you're dead. So at the start of your career, whatever value, if it's of any value to what I narrated today, please try to incorporate some of the principles in it. And believe that when that opportunity comes, or sentinel event occurs, or intervention happens, divine intervention happens, don't miss it. Because that will be the curb on which you will actually lose whether you're going to be there or not. Because these things, I think it happens in everybody's lives. But that's the important thing, is to be able to keep your ear to the ground, that what is coming to help you. So that's the story, and then I wanted to talk about role models. So my father, at some point, was my role model, and then Dr. Frank Spencer, who trained me for my current job, became my role model as I still call him my professional father. One sentinel event, which I should add on right now before I go to the next step, is that I was born left-handed. In those days, left-handed was considered very unlucky. My parents didn't pay any attention, but my Hindi teacher used to break my knuckles every time he came for my tuition. He would break my knuckles and say, switch, switch, switch. So I switched. My handwriting went to pot, but then I started writing with my right hand. I used to curse him on a daily basis that what did he do to me, which was so unnecessary, till I became a heart surgeon. Because then I realized, I knew I had some dexterity in both, but I didn't realize with such precision that I could operate with both hands equally well. Thank God I still can. I can say. So that's one of the reasons why they asked me to stay on the faculty, because I could do the job faster than anybody. And at that time, time was life. If you took too long to do a heart operation, the patient would not come off the heart-lung machine. So that's why time was of essence at that time, and I could, instead of switching sides or going upside down, I could just switch hands and go around the... Mr. Bhartiya was asking me about how do you do it, how do you cut, how do you sew. So that's it. If you can sew this way here, on your return journey, if you can go with your left, you save half the time. So that was the Vardhan he had given me, which then when I came back from US, I went and apologized to him, brought some big presents for him, and I thanked him. So these are events. So I was telling you about my role models. My father, Dr. Spencer, and then I switched, and now it's Mr. Hari Bhartiya. Why? No, I'm not joking. He was joking about my success. But I am saying so because he is the complete man. And I say it from my heart. I never tell lies, you know that. With that, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and good luck to all of you. There's a huge future ahead of you, but you have also a big burden, because we can claim credit that we brought India to here, no matter in what shape, good, bad, medium. You have to take it to the next step in your lifetime. So success is not measured in where, if you were born in wealth and you stayed at that wealth, that's not success, by the way. That is the success of your predecessors who got you there. Success is from your starting point to where you finish in your life. And that's going to be the measurement of how your journey went. Okay? So there is one thing. Let me tell you, on one of my birthdays, an American friend of mine, or a colleague of mine, sent me a story which read The Front Runner. And the front runner story goes like this. There was a white man who was captured by the American Indians, to whom America actually belongs. And they were going to put him in a boiling pot for dinner. And now he is now desperate. How do I save myself? Because the warriors were just going to pick him up and put him in there. So he, as a desperate measure, he says, "Chief." So he said, "What?" He says, "Chief, I understand that you are famous in the whole United States, or whatever that country was at that size, for your fairness." So he said, "What do you want?" He said, "Okay, give me a chance. I will match your warriors in whatever duel you decide." So the chief knew that his warriors were the fastest runners in the world. So they said, "Okay." Chief said, "I'll give you 5 paces as a head start. You run. If my warriors catch you, you're in the pot." He said, "Fair, very fair." So the story goes that he got those 5 paces and he ran. And then the warriors chased him. And he kept running, and they kept chasing him. And he's still running. Why? Because he knows that if he looks back, he will lose that advantage that he has. So he keeps running, and that's what you need to be. If you're not better today than yesterday, then you wasted 24 hours. If you live by that dictum, you'll feel their own potential and your own power. Okay? Thank you. I've taken a lot of time, but thank you for being patient.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor M. Chandrasekhar, Director of IIM Vizag, to felicitate the Chief Guest and the Chairman BOG. Sir. you, sir. Now we all stand for national anthem. Harshita.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद।
Now I request Chairman BOG Sri Hari S. Bhatia to declare the convocation is closed.
The convocation closed.
Now the convocation procession leaves the venue. Please continue standing.